Welcome to Afrifun Tale, where deep African stories speak truth and open your eyes. These are more than just tales. They carry wisdom, warnings, and the voice of our ancestors. Before we start, drop your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because one story here might touch your soul. Now, relax your mind, open your heart, and listen. This story may change how you see life.
How Princess Liza used snakes to defeat a whole army of giant warriors. In the heart of a flourishing valley stood a blessed village called Kua, a place where the soil drank water like a thirsty child and gave back with overflowing harvests. The land was green, the rivers flowed fresh, and the people were always singing during harvest. Truly, it was a land that God had smiled upon. The king of Kua, King Eda, was a man of wisdom and heart. His palace was open to his people, his ears always listening to their cries, and his hands always giving. Under his reign, peace and plenty ruled the land. The villagers were mostly farmers, and they were good at it. From yams to maize, cassava to pepper, the land gave birth to food in abundance. Even animals were plenty. Bushmeat, fish, snails, everything they needed came from their land. But while Kua was rejoicing in peace, far up on a rocky mountain lived another kingdom called Shao, a dry, unfriendly land ruled by a hard-hearted king named Yato. Unlike Kua, Shao had no fertile soil. Their crops barely survived, and hunger was a common visitor. What they lacked in food, they made up for in size and strength. The men of Shao were giants, and they were known across the region as powerful hunters and blacksmiths. They forged their own weapons, long blades, sharp spears, metal clubs, all made from the fires of their mountain. At the very peak of the Rocky Mountain stood King Yato's palace. Every morning he would stand on his balcony, looking down at the green valley of Kua. He would watch the smoke rise from the farmers' kitchens, see the dancing leaves of their plantations, and hear the distant laughter of children. Jealousy began to build in his heart, a burning, choking kind of jealousy. He did not understand why his kingdom struggled while Kua blossomed. And as he watched day by day, his jealousy turned into hatred, and then into a wicked plan. One evening, he gathered his chiefs and warriors. With coldness in his voice, he said, "We are going to take what belongs to Kua. During harvest, when they least expect, our warriors will descend like night ghosts. We'll scare them with our weapons, strike fear into their bones, and carry away all their harvest." The chiefs nodded. The plan was set. And just as King Yato said, when the next harvest season came, his warriors came down in the dead of night. Their weapons glinted under the moonlight. The villagers of Kua, unprepared and scared, ran into the bushes. By morning, their barns were empty. The farms were cleared. Only footprints and broken stalks remained. There was wailing all over the village. Mothers cried, fathers clenched their fists. The people had never seen such evil before. King Eda stood before his people with a heavy heart and wet eyes. He tried to comfort them, but he knew this was not over. The next year, it happened again, and the next. Kua became a land of sorrow during harvest. Their joy was stolen, their efforts wiped away. King Eda was a good man, but not a warrior. And this war was not of words, but of weapons. His daughter, Princess Liza, noticed the change in her father's eyes. The brightness in his eyes had faded. The weight of the people's pain sat heavy on his back. One night, she went to him, knelt beside his chair, and took his hand. "Daddy," she said softly, "don't worry too much. I know you feel helpless, but trust me, I have a plan. Let's use the time before next harvest to prepare. They think we're weak, but this time we will surprise them." King Ida looked into her eyes. A flicker of hope returned to his tired face. "What can we do, my daughter? Their men are like trees. Their weapons are like thunder." Liza smiled. "They trust only in metal and muscles, but I will use something more powerful, something they won't expect." From that day, Princess Liza began to work in secret. She picked a hidden part of the forest and started building a tall, strong structure that looked like a barn. But it wasn't a barn. It was a trap, with underground tunnels connecting to different parts of the village and farmlands. Inside that structure, she coated the inner walls with slippery herbs so nothing could climb out. Every day, she and a few trusted boys went into the bushes and collected wild snakes. Violent snakes, venomous ones. She kept them in thousands, fed them, trained them. They became fierce, fast, and ready. Harvest season approached again. As usual, King Yato's men came. In the dead of night, they descended the mountain, laughing as they entered Kua's fields with their big bags and sharp weapons. They thought it would be just like before, no resistance. But this time, it was different. As they filled their bags, they heard a strange, hissing sound. Before they could raise their weapons, tunnels burst open all around them. Angry, hungry snakes slithered out by the hundreds. The fields turned into a nightmare. The warriors screamed. They ran. They fell. They dropped their weapons and rolled on the ground, trying to escape the biting swarm. Among them was King Yato's only son, the Prince of Shao. A tall, strong man, proud and fearless. But that night, fear gripped his heart like never before. He tried to fight, but the snakes were too many. He didn't make it out alive. By morning, the farms of Kua were untouched. Their harvests stood proud. But the valley echoed with the cries of Yato's men, retreating in pain, covered in snake bites. King Yato wept for the first time in his life. He mourned his son. And when he heard it was Princess Liza who planned it all, he was filled with shame. He sent word to Kua, a message of surrender. No more attacks, no more war. Kua had won, not with swords, but with wisdom. The people of Kua gathered in the palace square, dancing, singing, and praising the princess who had saved them. King Ida hugged his daughter tight. "You have done what even our warriors couldn't do. You are a queen in waiting." And from that day, no one ever touched Kua's harvest again. Not every battle is won by strength. Some are won by wisdom, patience, and courage. Princess Liza didn't fight with swords. She fought with her mind. Let this remind you, when the enemy is bigger, be smarter. When life looks unfair, don't cry. Plan. And never underestimate a wise woman.
If this story touched you, don't keep it to yourself. Like, share, and tell someone who needs to hear it. Here at Afrifun Tale, we share stories that teach, warn, and bless. Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss when another powerful story drops. Till next time, stay sharp, Stay wise, and remember, every story is a seed to grow your life.